to be asked. I know some of them might have already come through on the WhatsApp line. I'm going to ask colleagues on the WhatsApp line. In fact, let's start there so that we get through those questions. I did indicate earlier that there was a lot to get through this afternoon, and I'm sure the colleagues might have seen already that we've gone through like quite a bit of information. So the questions might just be as many. But TK, let me come to you in terms of the questions on the WhatsApp line. Tagalan.
Thanks, Mr. Mhlangen. Good afternoon to everyone. Our first question is coming from Geoff Hill from the Washington Times. He said, Minister, you mentioned the problem of learner dropout, and at the end of 2020, there were instances of orphans and children whose IDs had been lost within the Home Affairs system, allegedly being denied a chance to write matric at state schools. And he said, I have personally investigated one of these allegations. Could you please let us know what the official policy of government is on this matter? And we have Thais Kiba from the Platinum Northwest TV and Brothers Times, and the question is, what is the plan for the Department of Basic Education regarding schools that are and will be affected by floods and heavy rains, especially in the rural provinces like the Northwest? And Mr. Mhlanga, we have a couple of questions here from Mahlaku Komane from the SABC News, and I think there are 5 questions, which are the last from what I have.
Let's go through them.
Yes, and the first one from Mahlaku is, what is the plan for the placement of these 25,099 grade 1 and 8 learners? Have the provinces given commitments in terms of dates when all learners will be placed? And number 2, also Limpopo and Western Cape have the bigger number in terms of unplaced learners. What are the challenges in these provinces according to what they are telling you? Number 3, Limpopo and KZN account for the majority of the deceased educators. How will these provinces fill these vacancies, considering that it is challenging to attract educators to the rural provinces? Number 4, according to the presentation, 22 Northwest schools don't have water. When will this be resolved? And the last question from Matlaku, which will also be last overall from my side. 18 schools in Mpumalanga and 42 schools in Limpopo failed to open due to storm challenges. What will happen to learners in those schools on Monday? Thanks.
All right, great stuff. Thank you for those questions. I'm not sure if there's any questions in the room. I'm seeing 2 hands, not more. That's good. It means that there's not a lot of people in the room, so we are adhering to the regulations. Please introduce yourself and then get through to your question.
Sohoma Afi from ENCA. I just want to find out the dropout rate. What are we currently sitting on in that regard? And the vandalized schools, how many of those have been fixed, including the ones that Mahlaku has now mentioned that were damaged by the storms in various provinces? Thank you.
Thank you.
Zikwana Chana from Newsroom Africa. Just clarity on the attendance of learners. Will it be a full going back? There will be no designated days. Can the Minister please explain that? And lastly, just Minister, it's a day before the schools start. Why was this briefing so late?
Okay. I'm going to ask the Minister to go first.
Can you answer for me?
Yeah, I'm Minister. There are protocols. There's that camera there that we must look at. I hope, please assist.
No, thank you very much for the questions. And some of the answers are contained in the presentation, which I had promised that we will put on our website because it has all the figures. But I'll ask UDG to just give you the specific figures on what are the dropout rates. But as we said, last year we had rotational, we had all sorts of school attendance systems, and we're estimating, because we were just working on the basis of school calendars or just managing through attendance registered. But DG will give you what our estimation is. On learners that, Dr. Polio, that learners will not be allowed to write because they don't have IDs. I would want to see, because we even have learners that even, let alone that they get banned or other things, we allow them to write and then they'll have to present the certificate. So it will be interesting or helpful to really get where these learners are, because policy doesn't say we have to turn back learners who can write, but I'll ask Dr. Polio to explain, but I'll be interested too to know where did that happen. On schools, again, in the presentation, the full presentation, which I say we'll put on our website, we already have received statistics from provinces where they've been affected by roads, which schools are affected, which schools are storm damaged. But what provinces are doing from their maintenance budgets, it's to repair those schools in between. Partly, the 2 weeks has helped us also because we would have been caught in the middle of those rains during, if we had opened end of January. So the 2 weeks has, in a way, helped us to buy time, and provinces are busy. Again, we'll give you the figures to say how many provinces are mostly affected. It's still in the presentation. In terms of filling of posts, according to our reports, all posts have been filled. It may be difficult to attract people in rural areas, but we are in a very fortunate situation where we have an oversupply of young people who are looking for posts in the education sector. So we still have also a number of learners that we had given bursaries through Funza Lushaka that we've not been able to place because there are no posts. So the reports that we got is that all schools have received their post provisioning. And as I say, we have reached a stage in the sector where we don't have a crisis in terms of teacher supply for now. So we don't have that problem. On what we're going to do, the number of schools, and where we had the highest number, it's in Northern Cape, where we have 42 schools that were still, or is it Northwest? It's in Mpumalanga. Yeah, it's 43 where we had the highest number of schools that have been damaged. Again, the provinces, from their reports, DG will respond. They're using different methods. If there's a neighboring schools, it's to find space. If they can bring mobiles. Again, they're using different modalities to deal with it. But we'll give you the exact numbers to say in Mpumalanga how many schools how many schools have been affected. Yeah, so the dropout rates will give you the estimates, the damage. Yeah, so I'm not sure which one. There's the one I said will be returning and will, or in terms of whether when learners come, are they all coming on the same day? No, they will come back the way we did in 2020 because we still have to do social distancing. They will come on certain days. And again, the 2 weeks bought us time so that we are able to re-timetable, orientate the new grades. So the other grades which were at school will come back the way they left. So if they were on a platooning system, they'll come as platooning. If they were on a rotational system, they'll come under the rotational system. If they were on a weekly system, they'll come on a weekly system. Again, the report, as I say, it speaks about 42 pages, the slides. And we'll request that, Mhlang, we put them on our website. Then you can get all the statistics which we couldn't run through today because of time. But if you can just say about dropouts and, some of the specific. Okay. Because I don't have the full report here.
Oh, thank you very much, Minister, and thank you, colleagues from the media, for your comments and questions.
Did you don't forget to, I forgot this other one, but why are we reporting so late?
Okay, no, thank you, Minister. Maybe to say that we had a similar briefing towards the end of the year on the state of readiness, Minister. This is a follow-up to that briefing, but we also do briefings just the day before. But remember that schools didn't reopen are not going to reopen on the 15th. Schools reopened on the 25th. The principals and the rest of the school management teams reported on the 25th, and then the teachers reported on the 1st of June. So that's the explanation. I'm sure Mr. Mhlanga can provide more information there. But we do share information on a regular basis with the media, and that culminates to a briefing such as this one. Dropout rate, the estimate was between 10 and 15% last year. But please bear this in mind. We allowed parents who, out of fear and anxiety, that they could keep their children at home. We also have home education in South Africa. Some parents would have opted for home education. We also made provision for online or virtual schooling through the school that the learner would be registered in or by a private provider. So we had made provision for 5 categories of avenues. We will only get a sense of the real accurate figures when learners come back in 2021. We do believe that the 10 to 15%, our dropout rate is usually between 10 and 12% from the study that was conducted by the National Dynamic Study, which indicated that is between 10 and 12%. For last year, we estimated between 10 and 15%, but we'll verify those figures as learners start to arrive from tomorrow. And then about plans to replace teachers, indeed you are right. Your analysis is spot on, Matlaku, that Limpopo and KZN accounts for the highest number of fatalities. You are indeed spot on. Part of what included in the presentation are responses from provinces on how they are going to fill these vacant posts which happen as a result of natural attrition. But the minister also emphasized the fact that what is in the presentation as well is approved school post establishments. Schools have posts where they can appoint. Once you've got an approved school staff establishment approved by the province, sent to a school, it means you can recruit based on the number of posts made available to you. In this presentation also, we asked questions such as, how are you filling vacant posts? As the minister said, we have a number of unplaced Funza Lushaka graduates, and these graduates have been funded by government. So they are available. We also have data of unemployed educators. And such educators could be people who would have, trained or qualified through their own funding. We do have many of those. We take those into account as well. We also have other entities that teach SA that we are working with. They are helping us to provide, details of educators who are available, who are unemployed, who could be employed. So we're doing that. Storm damaged schools, maybe let me assume that you don't know. Government doesn't insure its properties because it's not cost effective to do so. So there is no an insurance to cover, acts of God, so to speak, or natural phenomenons. Government doesn't do that. It's not cost effective. What usually happens, if there's a natural disaster, an area is declared to be an area that would fall within the scope of natural disaster, like in the Northern Cape. The John Taule Gaitsewe district has been declared an area that qualifies to be a natural disaster area. The provincial and national government then put heads together to provide the requisite intervention to obviate, the difficulties that people who are in such natural disasters would find themselves in. It happened with the Northern Cape. It's been declared. I'm not sure what's going to happen to other areas, because in some areas it's inaccessibility of roads, as the minister said. In Mpumalanga you had such schools. In the Northwest you had such schools. And if the provincial administration is able to deal with them, you don't need to declare them disaster areas. 22 schools in the Northwest without water. Next to that number, if you go to the extreme column, it says we are tankering. We have provided water tanks, and there are trucks that are providing water to those schools. Vandalized schools, we have the number here, and as we said, we'll provide the entire presentation to you. We'll put it on the website as well. I think that's all, Mr. Mhlanga. I'm not sure whether there's anything that I left out. Timelines, we've put in timelines also here, and provinces have committed themselves in terms of specific timelines. That's the detail that is in the presentation as well. Thank you.
But on exam policies of learners who don't have IDs, Dr. Paul?
Oh, I'm sure Dr. Pulia can speak to that, but as the minister said, no learner would be disallowed to sit for exams because they don't have an identity document. So ID documents do not preclude learners from sitting for exams or even from attending school. Thank you. Dr. Pulia, you can come if you want to.
Thank you so much, Minister and DG. The last time I checked the figures, I think in the previous exam, I think it was 2019, we had about 5,000 candidates who wrote exam without any identity documents. And every year, that number is always around there. So it is surprising that there would be cases like that, because the system is always able to accept those learners that do not have any form of identity. But
we should follow up and see really.
Yeah, we will definitely follow up. We'll request for the information to come through so that we can investigate those cases. Thank you so much, Minister. Any more questions on the WhatsApp? Any more questions in the House before we close? Okay. So Zikona. Okay, let's start with the WhatsApp and then we'll end up with
thanks, Mr. Mhlang. On the WhatsApp, we have Thando Kubeka from Eyewitness News. And the question is, have all schools in the country met the health and safety protocols to reopen tomorrow? And are those schools that will not, open tomorrow due to insufficient supply of PPEs? And which provinces have been mostly affected? And the last one is from Bongekile, from Mail and Guardian. And the question is, which I believe this question was answered. The question is, the minister just said that all teacher posts have been filled. And just 2 weeks ago, the portfolio committee said after its oversight to provinces, it had found that there was a serious shortage of teachers in the Eastern Cape, especially in the Joe Kavi and Alfred Nzo districts. In the Alfred Nzo, district, the committee said there was more than 1,000 vacancies. Is the minister saying between that oversight visit 2 weeks ago and now those vacancies have been filled? Thanks.
All right, Sakana.
The first question is on data. Last year I interviewed several pupils who had challenges with data because now communication with teachers is happening via WhatsApp. What is the department going to do to address the issue of pupils and accessing data?
All right. Okay. Okay. DG. Okay, Minister. All right. Thank you.
From the reports that we've been receiving in terms of school readiness, the new major challenge really is not about your PPEs now, your mask and your sanitizers. It's actually the recent weather patterns that have damaged some of our infrastructure, but also the schools that have been vandalized. That's a new challenge that we are experiencing. We have quite a big number of schools that have been vandalized during holidays, let alone that we also had a problem with the weather. But from the reports that we got, PPEs are not a challenge. And I think it helps me to correct myself in terms of teacher posts. The report that we received with DM is saying all provinces say they've given their schools the allocated posts, which means schools and district are now able and free to appoint. And the point is that we have a large pool of unemployed teachers from college. Some have resigned before time, are retired. They really want to come back to the system. So we have a comfortable pool of teachers that can be appointed now that provinces, all of them, have declared posts in schools, and schools and districts are free now to appoint, depending on the system, because different provinces use a different appointment. Some appoint at a provincial level, KZN appoints from the province, other appoint in districts. In other instances, schools are appoint on their own. So what is key is just declaring to say school number so and so, we have 15 posts, and depending on the format that the province uses, then they are free to appoint. Data angayizwa zikhona mhlambe there's a plan ayikho ama plan into it of data, but DG maybe on ICTs, but besingakayixoxa. What is it about data? It's not.
No. And all of these things are here.
Okay. Okay, colleagues, thank you so much, Minister. Some of the questions that are being asked are in the presentations. We have since all of them. We have since shared the presentations in some of our media WhatsApp groups, but in the next hour they will be available on our website, and we'll be able to read. It's quite a lot of information to engage in. Tomorrow the Minister will be visiting schools, Prosperitas High School. That's where she will start in the morning for monitoring of day one. Thank you, colleagues, for attending the media briefing. We really appreciate it. Have a good afternoon.
All right, Ilanja Mhlanga chairing that. The Department of Education holding its media briefing on plans for the reopening of schools in 2021, an update on that reopening of the schools. And of course, as was mentioned earlier, a lot came out of this afternoon's session. A confirmation indeed by Minister Angie Motshekga that tomorrow will be the first day of schooling for public schools for 2021. She spoke about the safety and health being the top priority, sticking to adherence to protocols, all to be implemented. School readiness survey was also released, also mentioning the fact that 200,000 young people have been employed by the department, and also sadly mentioning 159 deceased educators from December up to January. That is that number, 159 educators. And then of course that report on leaked question papers from the matric papers of last year, which was indeed investigated, and what was said there is that widespread leaks did not occur. And what did happen, and of course we'll report on what happened due to those leaks. So of course intensive audit going into that report. We'll bring you more as we analyze and assess more on what was said during that conversation after the short break. Do stay with us here on SABC News.